Hello YouTube, welcome to Captain Nav channel and another flight simulator video. Everything is in the title today. We're gonna look at the FSX standard scenery versus the ORBX scenery, the demo version in Tasmania. So let's jump in the simulator now and we'll look at the standard scenery first. We are departing from runway 30 in Hobart, Tasmania, and the first thing we can notice actually is the airport is surrounded by some quite high trees and quite close to the runway. Some are just off the extended center line, as you can see now as the aircraft is climbing. And yeah, if you want final on the other side, runway 12, I guess you'll get pretty close to the trees as you get to closer to the runway, so it's not great. Also, well, the grass around the airport is not too bad. You can see some of the trees here again, and yeah, the grass is not too bad. Maybe a little bit dry, but the airport kind of like stands out from the rest of the scenery. It's a bit like a stump in the middle of the scenery, so it's not ideal, shall we say. Anyway, climbing over the lake and turning left towards Cambridge Airfield, we can start seeing the countryside scenery. It's that kind of savanna scenery with dry grass, a pale green color, and some touches of yellow as well, and a few trees and bushes around. That kind of scenery might be typical of some parts of mainland Australia in the summer when it's really hot and stuff, but I wouldn't think it's typical of Tasmania springtime. So it doesn't really match the real world, but we'll take it as is. As you can see, there's not much variation in the scenery. It all looks the same. The river there looks quite dark, and yeah, there's not much attention paid to details. It all looks fairly the same everywhere. It is fairly decent, but I guess it could be a little bit better. Could be a bit more variation to it. I'll give you a few seconds to look around, and then we'll look at the city. So first view of the city here, and also looking left towards the south. It's actually quite a pleasant view here. We can make out some of the fields. It doesn't look too bad actually. And coming back towards the city view here, we can make out some of the fields. You can see the roads, maybe a secondary road above a river there, some houses. Doesn't look too bad actually. Looking at the background though, we've got that kind of city scenery patched up against the side of the hill there. It's not too great, and it does look also very densely built up, which doesn't really make sense as well on the side of the hill there. It's not great. We're turning right a little bit more towards the rest of the city there. We've got that little kind of island to the bottom right of the screen there, which also looks quite daft. That's that kind of cityscape scenery, and that doesn't really make sense because we've got the road leading up straight to the water there. There's not really any shoreline. We've got that road going up the hill there, and that kind of funky shape over the hill. That's it's not great. Also that kind of turquoise blue water, as if it was a tropical island, which is not really the case. So it's a little bit daft. Looking at the city like this as well gives us the feeling that it's a fairly built up area, densely built, which I don't believe is the case for Hobart. This is maybe more reminiscent of a place like Sydney or Melbourne, but I wouldn't think it's typical of Hobart. So once again, densely built up area there where it's not really the case. So a lack of attention paid to details, unfortunately. Gonna have a look as well over the right hand side towards the northeast and the countryside there quickly. And yeah, it's still that kind of savanna scenery, kind of green-ish color. It's not too bad. And another example of that kind of patched up scenery on the side of the hill there, which is really daft once again. I will let you have a look around. And we are now further up the river towards the north of the city and the countryside again. I quite like this area. I think it's much better than the initial part. We can see this little town, the houses, the fields, the little roads. The river looks quite good. We've got this kind of farm bottom right of the screen. Woodland area on each side of the river is okay. And the distance we can see some fields with much more variation in the colors as well. So overall, I think it's quite good, and I'm quite happy with it. And if we have a look also towards the west, towards the hills below the left wing of the aircraft going up now, we can see this nice little area there is looking quite good. So while you enjoy the scenery around here, I'll try to explain the purpose of this video. I'm trying to decide whether to purchase ORBX scenery, the global package, and all the bits and pieces coming with it. I've downloaded the free demo version for Tasmania, and I've tried also to download the northwest of the states and the Iceland demo version, but for these two, every time I try to do it, download is interrupted. I don't know if it's coming from my internet connection or if it's just a problem on the servers, but I can't do it. So all I can use to compare the standard and ORBX scenery is Tasmania. So just flying around from Hobart Airport towards the city and then up the river just to have a feel for it and see the differences. So it's not too bad. I'm still undecided, so if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section and see what we can come up with. So now we have ORBX scenery. So as we take off from runway 30 still in Hobart, obviously we compare the same area, otherwise that doesn't really make sense. We can see that the trees are kind of gone, which is happy news really, and just a few little trees around, but not the amount of high trees we had, and standard scenery. Also, the grass around the airport kind of like blends in very well with the rest of the countryside scenery around. It doesn't look like a post stamp in the middle of the scenery there. You can see it blends quite well, and the aircraft perimeter within the scenery is looking quite good. Taking off towards the lake, I can see they added a few trees around on that little bit of land there. And then the scenery starts really appearing to us. We've got that beautiful shade of green. Now we can see different fields. Flying over Cambridge airfield again, I believe. Some row of trees. So it's all looking quite nice and much more realistic. It even has, I would say, a kind of photo scenic feel to it, but it's not what I'm supposed to do actually, from what I understand. But here we can see from the under the left wing, we can make out various fields, a bit of woodland, a bit of maybe cultural land as well. It's all very nicely done. A bit of variation as well. This kind of like red-brown shade of field looking towards the north and the top of the lake there, turning around. It just looks quite nice overall, I would say. And the road there, for example, looks much better as well. And looking back towards the airport as well is really good. So now we are approaching top of the hills, westbound towards the city. So once again, I quite like the way it's presented here, because it's not that city scenery patched up a little bit everywhere. The city itself kind of blends quite well with the kind of green scenery, and it's not. You can actually see more little houses everywhere instead of just that kind of standard city scenery patched up there. So as I said, the city scenery itself is made up of a lot of little houses, and it all blends very well in the overall scenery I find there. That's the little bit of land that we saw earlier on in the standard scenery, and it's much better. Turning right now towards the rest of the city, and we have this overall feeling that it's less densely built up area, contrary to the standard scenery. It looks much more open. We've got here to the right of the screen as well a good mix of fields and woodland areas, and a couple of cliffs as well. Nice colors. It's maybe a little bit dark, but overall it's a nice feeling. Looking under the left wing, we do not have this patched up scenery on the side of the hill there. It's much better, much better actually. Looking at this side, on the right side, looking north as well, is quite good. This little road coming up the hill there, and all these houses. Looking again below the left wing, once again we don't have that patched up scenery. It's a much better way of depicting the area, I would say. So I'll keep quiet for a while and let you enjoy this beautiful scenery there. A quick explanation as well about the video. The parameters are exactly the same. We are flying springtime down in Tasmania, same time of the day and same day of the year as well. So all the parameters for the standard and the ORBX scenery are exactly the same. Coming up now is the third part of the comparison, the section in the countryside just north of the city. So I will let you have a look around initially and then comment further. We're now looking at further up the river at kind of countryside part of it again. And here it's a delight also. You can see the village more or less placed in the same place around the bend of the river. And once again, instead of some kind of village scenery, we actually get all the little houses and some of the fields, a bit of woodland area again. The only thing is we can see there that green band there kind of is cut by the river, which looks a little bit daft, but otherwise, as I said, the village there is depicted much better, I find. Looking at the left wing there towards the west, you can see the hills, all the fields looking different. Here it's a little bit more of woodland, but you can actually make up some field, and if you want some fields, and if you want to practice some PFL, so practice force landing, you can actually do it because you can make up all you can make out all the fields, so you can pick up a field where if you have an engine failure on your Cessna aircraft, then you can try to land in the field, which in the standard scenery you can't really do. So if I had an engine failure now, well, I'll try to land somewhere and one of the fields there, and they really stand out, which is nice as well. Which kind of shows that the scenery detail is a little bit higher than in the standard scenery. So I hope the video is not too long for you. It's already about 17 minutes almost, so it's not going to be much longer. I just want to show you a little bit further down further up the valley there, and further up the river. The river, as you can see, continues for quite some time, whereas in the standard scenery it stops quite quickly. So I'm not really sure which one is accurate to the real world, if the river keeps going up and up, or if it just stops there and then it's just a little stream. But here is the valley, the river that continues for quite some time. Looking back towards the village there, as I said, once again you can see the fields quite well there. You can make out different fields. So if you had, as I said, an engine failure, then you can maybe pick up one just at the bottom of the screen there, or try to stretch it a little bit further up. I think it's quite cool. It just shows the detail. So I would say overall, I would favor ORBX scenery, just because of the attention to the overall detail is much better than the standard scenery. There are still some little things which are not perfect. We'll see later on. Like roads, as we saw earlier on, that line of green is cut by the river, and there's not really any bridge or anything. And then further up, we'll see there's also like roads, basically with no bridge over the river, so you just get a road leading up to the river on each side of the river, but with no bridge, so it kind of looks a little bit daft. A good view there again, nice variations in the fields, and yeah, that's what I was saying. Here you can see a road leading up to the river bend there on the other side as well. Maybe it's just like a track, but there's no bridge, so it looks a little bit daft. Once again, all the fields nicely differentiated, and yeah, it's got some kind of like photo or real scenery feel to it as well. You can see there the track, but no bridge. This time we have a bridge here, so it's kind of depends. I'm not really sure why it's like in real, or if it's due to some kind of scenery model that they just put in the simulator. But yeah, here we are. So my vote would go to ORBX. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope I've not bored you too much. I'm not a professional commentator, far from it. So yeah, leave comments and let me know what you think of these two different scenery, the standard scenery and the ORBX scenery. Thank you very much for watching YouTube, and we'll see you on the next video.